Welcome to episode 11 of Trash the Game Plan. I'm your host, Maddie Schmidt. Wow, y'all, episode 11. I cannot believe that. Feels like a lot. I know it's really not in the grand scheme of things, but it feels like it. So thanks to those of you who are still listening and still watching. Y'all are the real ones. Here is what you can expect in today's episode. We're going to be joined in just a couple minutes after I ramble a little bit, per usual, by Tori Petry. If you don't know who she is, you will after today's episode. And you'll be glad because Tori is one of the sweetest human beings that I've come across in this industry and honestly, just in life. She's awesome. Tori is a former Detroit Lions team reporter. She's worked in the NFL. She's a University of Florida journalism grad. And now she travels the world and gets paid for it. Yep, you heard me. Just the other week, she was in Italy. Tori is now a freelance side gig travel advisor, and she's got a couple other side hustles going on as well. So, Tori has a very unique story, the perfect example of having to trash your game plan when even when things are working out, when you just feel inside of you, it's time to do something new. Super excited to have her on and for her to share your story with y'all. It's a bit inspiring and I'm glad I had the chance to talk with her and you'll be glad you had the chance to listen. But back to what I was saying, episode 11. Wow. To be honest, y'all, I did not think I would still be sitting in this chair here at episode 11 on December, whatever the date is, of 2022. I thought for sure by now I would have a full time job, but I don't. That hurts, but it is what it is. I really didn't think I would be in the same boat I am right now that I was in a year ago, a year and a half ago. But I am. Things have changed a bit though. I am definitely not the same human being I was a year and a half ago. This world has toughened me up. Reality has hit for the better. I'm a better person, I think. I'm a stronger person, that is for sure. But I have just been grinding freelance gigs, trying to get better on my own. Might be a little biased, but I do think I have gotten better at some things in life and professionally. Hoping it pays off. I know it will. But this industry is just a grind and it's rough. Everyone's like, oh, there's so many jobs out there right now. Why does Maddie still not have a full time job? Well, the thing is, I am not chasing a job. If I wanted to be a waitress at Texas Roadhouse or Chili's down the road, guess what? I would be. But I am chasing a career and I know what I want. It hasn't been easy and I know it's not going to be easy for a long time, but eventually things will work out. Or that is what I'm holding on to. I know one day I will look back and I will laugh and it will all make sense. I'll be glad that I was rejected there, that I was rejected there, that I was rejected there, and 500 other places that never even gave me a call. It's true. You should see the amount of different cover letters, resumes, and emails that I have saved on my computer that I've sent. It's absurd. And I cannot wait for the day that one works out because I know it will. It's just a matter of time. But Lord, I hope it comes soon because I need it. I know I'm not the only one out there chasing that career and things aren't working out, but we got this. It is not always easy though. I have my days of emotional meltdowns. Don't we all? Maybe guys don't, but girls definitely do. I am just so ready and I know that. So I think that is why it's been hard for me to grasp the fact that I am still without the full-time job, but everyone's path is different and I cannot let this time frame and what's happening in my life right now define who I am because we're much more than our careers or our lack of careers or jobs. We're human beings. There's a lot more to us. Anyway, Christmas coming right up, the most wonderful time of year. I'm excited, and I hope you guys have some fabulous Christmas plans and Christmas menus planned because you just need to enjoy this time period. And so do I. I need to tell myself and allow myself to enjoy this time period and not worry about life because, y'all, I'm a worrywart. I worry about everything. It's bad. I have got a little bit better, I think, over the years, but Still a lot of personal improvement needs to occur for me to be a better, happier human being. Before we cut to my conversation with Tori, I want to take a moment and just say my heart and my prayers go out to Mike Leach and his family, the former Mississippi State head football coach. I truly cannot imagine what his family and what that football program is going through. It is an absolute tragedy, but it is also a reminder to hug your loved ones, take care of yourself, go to the doctor regularly, try to eat well and exercise. I know it's tough, especially this time of year, but life is short, and Mike Leach is the perfect example of that. So, my thoughts, my prayers go out to y'all in Mississippi. All right, episode 11, let's cut to Tori Petry. Welcome to Trash the Game Plan podcast, Tori. It's so awesome to finally have you on. How are you today?
I'm good, Maddie. Thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to be on here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, for those listening wondering how I know Tori, well, the most obvious connection is we're both Florida Gator grads, journalism people. But we realized a while ago that we also have another connection. This is kind of a funny story. I was born and raised in Lawrenceville, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. And somehow you managed to get engaged to a guy that happened to live just a street over from me growing up. And he did Boy Scouts with my brother when they were younger.
How small is this world? It's so crazy. I think I realized this maybe around last Christmas. He was showing me around Lawrenceville, and we were just driving around his neighborhood. He's like, "Oh, that's where my friend so-and-so went or lived." And, I think his sister went to Florida. And I was like, hold on, what was her name? And we realized that, we had you as a mutual friend. So what a small world. So crazy.
It really is so weird. I was shocked when I saw that because you're from Florida, right?
I am. I'm born and raised about 45 minutes south of Gainesville. So not from the Atlanta area at all. And I didn't even meet my fiance in Atlanta. I met him in Charlotte. So just crazy connections.
Very funny. Well, I wanted to get you on the podcast for a couple of reasons. First off, I am very love all of your content on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
Your branding and everything looks amazing. That's a very Gen Z thing of me to say, but it's true. But you have done a lot in your personal and professional life this far. You've gone from working in the NFL to traveling the world and getting paid for it. I think you're the perfect example of it's okay if you start your career doing one thing and end up doing another. And it's okay to have more than one passion.
Yeah.
So I started this podcast because my game plan for life hasn't really worked out the way I wanted it to or in my time frame. And I think you are just the perfect example of somehow trashing your game plan. So why don't you run me through how you got to where you are today in Detroit, working for the Lions? You're a Florida girl, burr.
Yeah, that was a huge transition. So, like you said, I went to the University of Florida. My dream was always to do sports broadcasting. And so I, graduated from Florida and was looking for sports jobs. And it was kind of in that limbo between graduation and finding a job. And I was like, am I actually going to be able to get into this field? And came across a job posting for the team reporter job that I ended up doing in Michigan with the Detroit Lions. And I got the job offer on a Monday. And by Friday, I had left Florida for good. It was a no-brainer for me. I was like, this is the career I want to work in. Like, I'm there. So I moved up to Detroit, and that first winter was definitely a shock. There were several times where I was like, I don't know about this. I might have to move back to Florida. I don't know if I can do this. Just because of the weather and, just the overwhelm of, it's your first career job. And it was challenging, but it was so cool to be able to do that. And I did that for 7 years, and I got to know so many of the players and their families and got to be part of the organization. So you were getting access that you wouldn't usually get if you were working for, a TV station or, another local news outlet. So it was just such a cool job. But then in 2021, I just felt like there was just a shift, and it was just, it's hard to explain, but it just felt like it was time for me to try something different. I had been 7 years in the same role. I was the team reporter. And so there was really, the role was team reporter. There wasn't really a a lot. I had grown and changed the role a lot over the course of time since I had been there, but I just felt like it was time to try something different. And so I just took a huge leap of faith. I didn't really have an entire plan mapped out of what it was going to look like after I left. I just knew it was time for me to transition. And so I left that job in May of 2021 and I moved down to Charlotte. My mom's from North Carolina. I've always loved Charlotte. I thought it would be a great place to live. And I moved down to Charlotte and, just kind of started dabbling in a few different things. There was a point in my career where I thought being in sports was the only thing I was ever going to be any good at. And challenging myself to take that leap of faith has made me realize, hey, there's actually some other things that I really do enjoy and that I could maybe make a living off of doing. So I've been kind of living this like freelance lifestyle where I have my hands in a lot of different things, but it's allowed me to embrace other passions and creativities and still have sports be part of my life. I was able to freelance with ESPN this last fall and do some college football, which I love college football. You know this, we went to an SEC school, so there's so much passion for college football, that we grew up with and got to know. And I got to cover Big 12 games this season. So, it has all kind of fallen into place. And it wouldn't have if I hadn't taken that huge leap of faith to, like you said, trash the game plan.
That's awesome. I love it. So, what's it like covering the Big 12 on Saturdays compared to your SEC and NFL past?
I think there is a commonality in college football that these fans are super passionate. So it's fun to be able to be in college football again. And it's just a different vibe than the NFL. NFL fans are super passionate as well. But there is a little bit of a purity to college football, or maybe an innocence, I guess, because it's not a business yet. And so I really do enjoy that aspect of college football. These are college students. They're trying to build their future. Some of them are trying to make it to the NFL. Some of them just really love football. And these are their 4 years or 5 years, whatever it may be, to play college football. And then they'll be off onto other careers. So I really do love that aspect of it. And, I did a game in the Big 12 last year and then got to do 6 games this year. So I've just spent a lot of time in the Big 12. So it's fun to see the Big 12 go to the college football playoff. I didn't have any TCU games this year, but I did last year. So that was really fun to see, their turnaround from when I covered them last year to where they are this year. But I really had a lot of fun in the Big 12, traveling to a lot of places that I haven't been before. I hadn't been to Manhattan, Kansas, and I got to go there, Lubbock, Texas, Ames, Iowa. So got to travel all around and just, cover some amazing teams, amazing coaches, and it was a blast.
Aside from football, you also do traveling for your other side gig and freelance job. Tell me about being a travel advisor. What does that entail?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have always just loved planning travel. I've loved being that person who's like, okay, hey, our friend group is going to go to this city. Where should we go for dinner? What should we do while we're there? Like, I love that research part of things where, I'm mapping it out. I'm making the itinerary. I'm sending everybody like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is where we have reservations. I've always loved that. And I've kind of done that, on my own, not as a career, just, for friends and family. And last year, my sister was getting married. Well, she got married this year, but last year she was planning her wedding, and she asked me to plan her honeymoon because she knows that I love planning that kind of thing. And in the same time span of her being asking me to do that, I discovered this company called Fora, and they're a startup, and they're a travel agency that essentially equips people like me who already love doing that travel planning aspect of things, and equips them with all the tools and training and resources you need to be an actual professional travel advisor. So I kind of joined them on the front end of them kind of getting up and going and starting their business model, and got to attend some of their kind of group organizational events. So I went to Cape Cod with them this last year, and got to meet a bunch of the other travel advisors and a bunch of the founding members. And, it's been so fun to be able to kind of turn that passion I already had into a career. And so I started with planning my sister's honeymoon. So I booked her honeymoon and, booked her hotels and all their excursions and mapped out. I made this like very extensive itinerary. And, that's grown into working for people that, I don't even know. Some of it has been, friends and family. Some of it has been referrals. But, I booked trips all over the place, from Australia to Italy to Turkey, and then across the US too. I love booking adventure travel trips, across the US, because that's what I love doing anyways. I love the outdoors. And so being able to book some of that kind of stuff for people in like Jackson Hole and fun places like that has been one of the joys of entering that career. But yeah, it was something I just kind of stumbled into. It wasn't something I was looking for. And I just got back from, at the time that we're recording this, I just got back from a trip with the travel agency to Italy, and I got to do a wellness retreat in Italy. We were scouting out that hotel. It's a new program that's opened over in Italy called the Ranch Italy. There's one that exists in Malibu, and they just opened a program in Italy. So we got to go experience that for future clients, and that was just such a treat. So cool to be able to experience.
That sounds so fun, yet also exhausting. How was the retreat in Italy? Did you enjoy that?
It was amazing. It was so much fun. We got to hike like 8 to 10 miles every day. You're hiking through the Italian countryside. We were staying at this beautiful hotel that's about an hour outside of Rome, in a town called Fiuggi. And the town is known for the water there. It's an alkaline mineral water. It's supposed to be really good for your body. And so, there's this gorgeous, gorgeous spa there. So when we weren't hiking, we were in the spa, or we were getting massages. And they serve this amazing vegan cuisine, and everything's gluten-free, everything's healthy, it's locally sourced, and we just had a blast. And it was really fun too, because you do it with a group of people. You eat all your meals together, you go on all your hikes together. And so you really just like get to know everybody, and the camaraderie that forms from like going through this wellness retreat together was really fun.
I wanna go.
All right, let's do it. We'll book you.
So I have a food question about Italy. I am a huge foodie, and
Love
pizza
it.
is a very important part of my diet. Is the pizza in Italy better than America?
Okay, I will answer this question from my previous trips to Italy, because when I went to Italy before, I could eat dairy, and I don't eat dairy anymore. I gave up dairy about 5 years ago. But yes, absolutely. It is. It definitely is so much better. I will say I did not eat any pizza there this time around, but it's incredible. It's all kind of like that, like wood-fired style of
Mhm.
pizza, and it's just so good. I mean, anything that you would consider Italian food here in the US just really doesn't stack up to what actual Italian food is. So if you have the chance to go to Italy, highly recommend.
Oh, you're making me hungry. I'm gonna have to add it to my bucket list. But from this past time, what was the best food you had?
Oh my gosh, we ate these amazing vegan meals. So, it wasn't as necessarily traditional Italian
Mhm.
food, what you would expect to eat in Italy, but it was all this locally sourced vegan food. So, I think one of my favorites was we had this eggplant ricotta, and the ricotta was made of macadamia nuts. And I know that sounds crazy, but as someone who like eats fake cheese all the time, this ricotta was so good. It tasted like real ricotta, and even people who do eat cheese thought the same thing. So I would say that was probably a standout meal for me.
Interesting. What has been the best place that you've gone to visit or for work?
Oh goodness. I mean, recency bias, it's hard to stack up against Italy. But I do love a lot of the places that I've gotten to travel around the US. As far as like my work travels this last season, I got to go to Morgantown, West Virginia twice. And the second time I stayed in Hotel Morgan, which is just this historical, really cool renovated hotel in Morgantown, West Virginia. So I really enjoyed that. My family is also from West Virginia. My dad's side of the family is. So it was just fun to be able to experience West Virginia. And so I loved that. I was super impressed with the college football crowd at the stadium there. It was, especially early on in the season, it was a night game, and it was just a really fun atmosphere. I really enjoyed that game. Um, but then as far as around the US, I just love outdoors destinations. I love going to the national parks. That's like, my hobby. If I have any free time, that's usually where you'll find me. This is how much I love the national parks. I'm getting married in a national park. We specifically planned it so that we could get married in a national park. So I would say my favorite national park city is probably Jackson Hole.
And is that where you're getting married?
It's not because of the timing of when we were getting married. My fiance's been deployed, and so we had to kind of plan our wedding around that. And so our wedding was falling in the winter time. So it's a little too chilly there for us for an outdoor wedding in Jackson Hole in February. So for that reason, we're getting married in Joshua Tree, California.
That's so special. I love it.
Yeah.
So, is your fiance also a national park junkie? I'm assuming. Has he always been like that?
Yes, he has. Yeah, he grew up going to the national parks with his family. He loves them, but I think it was also just something we started doing together. I think I'm more into the hiking aspect, the marking off a park. Like I love lists. I'm type A personality. So like you give me
Same.
a list of like 62 national parks. I'm like, great, let's go to all of them. So I think that that is more my personality, whereas he really enjoys outdoor sports like mountain biking, skiing, all these like active adventure sports. And so we've kind of like, gotten the other into each of those things. And so, I've tried mountain biking with him. He goes hiking with me a lot. And, the places that we've been able to do that is in the national parks. And so we've been to 6 national parks together since we started dating. And the one we get married in will be our lucky number 7 together.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
how did you guys meet, if you don't mind me being nosy?
No, totally. So funny enough, we actually met on Hinge. When I moved to Charlotte, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get to know people in Charlotte by just hopping on the dating apps and didn't really think much of it. I wasn't planning on meeting anyone very seriously. But it happened that the first weekend I moved to Charlotte, he was in Charlotte visiting his sister who lives there. And so our locations were set to the same city at the same time. So it really was serendipitous, even though we did meet online. It wasn't like we'd both been doing the online dating thing for a long time. It was just kind of, we'd both been in the same city, same weekend. And he was living in Augusta, Georgia. That's where he was stationed at the time. He's in the military. And he drove up to Charlotte the next weekend to take me out. And then he would drive up to Charlotte like multiple times a week to hang out. So yeah, that's how we met.
Oh, what's it like being engaged and dating someone that was deployed and in the military?
Oh gosh, so it was very challenging. He left in April of 2022, and he just came back a couple days before you and I are recording this. So it's been so nice to be back together. But it just gives you so much respect for the families who do it. I mean, it's hard to do it engaged, but to do it when you have kids and you're a mom that's taking care of kids on your own, and your loved one is missing holidays, and we miss some holidays, but gratefully he's back just before Christmas, so we don't have to miss Christmas together. But there are families who are missing Christmas together, so you just get so much empathy and compassion for that, because it's not an easy job to do, and there are a lot of sacrifices involved, not just on the service members part, where obviously they're making the biggest sacrifice. They're the one that's away from their families and everything they know. And being on a deployment is not just doing another job in a different place. Like, it's a very challenging job to be doing. And so there's just so much empathy for both what they do and then what the families go through back home. And so you have to go through your normal life, but like, the person that you love is not there doing it with you. So you get used to that. You get into a routine and you figure out how to do life on your own. And I'm a very independent person. It's not like I couldn't handle living on my own or anything. I do that anyways, but it's just different because you are on different time zones, and you only have certain amounts of time that you can talk, and their work schedule is so crazy. So it's not like you're having a nightly FaceTime. We probably FaceTimed about once a week while he was deployed. So 8 months of that, it's so nice to be back together again, and definitely a joy to be able to do it before the holidays.
I cannot imagine. So, kudos to y'all and congratulations. That is
You.
so exciting what you guys have been able to accomplish together, and there's still so much more life to live.
I know, I know. And so it's been nice to have our wedding to look forward to afterwards, but also a challenge because, usually when you're wedding planning, you're doing it together, running decisions by each other and all that kind of thing. So it's been a little bit challenging to navigate that when you only have a certain amount of time every week to talk. And it's like, okay, do we run through wedding decisions during this like 1 hour we have to talk, or do we, just enjoy each other's company? So, that was another decision that you have to make. So I'm so glad to have him back. And now, the excitement is it's the holidays, and in just a couple of months we get to get married.
So exciting. So being the list type of person that you are and the travel person, I'm the same way though. I
I
have
love it.
calendars
I love it.
to-do lists everywhere because I would go insane if I didn't. But have you been planning your wedding personally?
Yes, I have. I do have a wedding planner, which has helped a lot. But I have been planning it, mostly on my own. So it's been nice to have some assistance from a wedding planner and be able to have her expertise. I think it's just that I've been doing so many different things. Like we've talked about being multi-passionate and doing football and also travel advising. And, we haven't even mentioned I also do social media management. So there's that aspect in there as well. So having all of that on my plate, it's been nice to have someone else's help with some of the logistics of wedding planning. But I also have enjoyed being able to, kind of make a dream vision come to life. So we're getting close. We're getting close.
So exciting. I cannot wait to see the pictures.
Thank you.
So are you allowed to say where the honeymoon is?
Yeah, so we actually, since we're planning a destination wedding, we just kind of wanted to do something a little bit more low key for our honeymoon, and we'll take a bigger trip a little bit later on. So instead of planning like a huge destination wedding and then a huge destination honeymoon, that would just be a lot, especially
Yeah.
since I was mostly doing it on my own with him deployed. So we are going to stay in California for our honeymoon and go over to the coast in California and just enjoy some nice relaxation after the craziness of, getting through deployment and the holidays and all that kind of stuff.
You'll need the relaxation.
Yeah, we will.
So Tori, give me one piece of advice for just navigating professional and personal life as a young person in the world because you've done a lot and you've been through a lot and it's impressive.
Oh, well, thank you. I think the biggest thing that I've learned in the last couple of years, especially with my transition, is that you really have to be true to what you want to do. I think we often start off with a vision of how our career should play out or how people expect it to play out, especially being in a forward facing role like, I was with the Lions and, you have your podcast and you've been in those on camera positions. And so, what it's like when people know you as one thing. And then if you were to pivot or change that, people are like, what's going on? Why would you do that? And there's a lot of questions behind that. And so you feel almost an obligation to live up to what people expect of you. And I had a hard time with that when I first transitioned out of the Lions. It was kind of like I didn't really have a plan. I just knew it was time for me to change. And there was a lot of questions like, why is she doing this? Why would she leave? And maybe people didn't even have those questions. And it was just something that I felt like people were asking of me. And it was hard to let go of people's perceptions and just be like, what do I want to do? What is most important to me right now? And that answer changed over time. If you had asked me that 3 years ago, I would have had a different answer than I would right now. So it's just, I think dreams, expectations, goals are allowed to grow and change. And it's just being able to be open to that as an individual and say, it's okay if this one thing that I once dreamt of is not what my current dream is right now. I came into the league where there were a lot of team reporters all across the league. We all were able to become great friends and create this awesome sisterhood of all these team reporters around the league. And in the last couple of years, a lot of them have transitioned out. Some of them have stayed in sports. Some of them have just taken jobs in different sports. Some of them have gone on to become moms and wives. And that has been like their chosen dream. And that's okay. And it's okay if that dream changes over time. I think when I was going through my transition, some advice that I got that was that it's not the death of a dream, it's the birth of a new one. So it's okay if that vision for what you want your life to be changes a little bit, and it's okay if it's different than what other people expect it to be for you, because you are the one who has to live with it at the end of the day. So if that dream is continuing to pursue something that you really want, then keep pursuing it, even if people think you should give up on it. But if your dream is to change when people think that maybe you should stay doing what you're doing, that's okay too. It's all up to your like personal gut feeling and what is important to you. So I think that being able to stay true to that and really turn inward and ask yourself what you want is the biggest thing that you can do for your career.
You're so right, and I'm gonna need to come to you when I need advice or pick me up from now on. But
I
seriously,
got you.
there's no there's no hiding. Like, I've been struggling. I graduated college over a year ago and have yet to find a full-time job. Navigating freelance, navigating just this is my passion. I know it's what I want to do. So I'm not giving up, even when people look at me and are probably wondering, she's probably not meant to do that. But deep down, I feel like I am. So it's something I still have to pursue. And this podcast, Trash the Game Plan, is me trying to accept the fact that my game plan hasn't necessarily worked. And that's okay because it might end up working better than I could have ever imagined.
And
But
it will, like everything will fall into place. Everybody goes through those dips in their career where they're like, I'm really not sure if things are working out. I'm really not sure if this is how I want this to go. And a lot of times we don't see that struggle on the surface. We just see things look like they're going really well. And so it's hard to not compare yourself. But, Maddie, you probably don't even know this, but I've had people come and ask me, like, I want to go into sports. What should I do? And I've used you as an example because you do such a good job of making an avenue for yourself when, you know, you aren't finding it elsewhere. You just create one. And this podcast is a great example of that. You did it when you graduated. You did like all these really cool Zoom interviews because I think you graduated during the era of COVID. And,
yeah.
you were doing these great Zoom interviews with athletes and getting these amazing guests. And a lot of people who graduate would look at the situation and be like, well, I don't have what's in front of me that I want to have in front of me right now. So I don't know what to do. And your answer to that was just creating an avenue and finding a way to do it anyways. And you're still building that resume and that reel and getting that experience. And so I think that really speaks to your character and your drive. And, it shows that you have the ability to make things happen. And even though something isn't right in front of you right now that is what you envisioned, it doesn't mean that it won't come later on, or that through doing what you're doing right now you won't find an avenue that you want to be on. So I mean, that applies to you personally, and I'm sure it applies to people who are listening as well, because I think that just having that diligence and being able to know this is what I want to be doing, so I'm going to keep working at it, and I'm going to keep reflecting and being like, is this what I want to be doing? Great. Then I'm going to keep going after it. So I really respect you. And I think you're a great example to all kinds of college graduates about how to make your dreams happen.
Well, thank you for that. That means a lot, Tori. And I've kept you long enough, so I'm going to let you go. But thank you so much. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we were able to do this.
Thank you, Maddie. It's so fun to be able to both chat sports and also, chat life and career path and all that kind of thing. So this was a very refreshing conversation. Thank you.